We're celebrating our 300th episode of Paper Napkin Wisdom with a special bonus. Go to papernapkinwisdom.com, scroll to the contact form at the bottom, and type the word book. We will send you 3 free ebooks: the Demand Blueprint, the Profit Blueprint for Mastering Cash Flow, and the Paper Napkin Wisdom Gratitude Ritual. That's a $25 value, all yours free. Just sign up at papernapkinwisdom.com.
Welcome to Paper Napkin Wisdom, where we share pearls of wisdom shared by some of the world's top entrepreneurs, leaders, and difference makers. Here's your host, Govindh Jayaraman.
Hi, I'm Govindh Jayaraman, and this is Paper Napkin Wisdom, episode 320, and another in our Edge of the Napkin series. Today is one I believe will land deeply for anyone who's ever tried to build something meaningful or become someone truer to themselves. You know, there's a moment in every leader's journey where you start to wonder about the voices you've allowed in your life, the people who shaped how you see yourself, the ones who lifted you up, and the ones whose words somehow made you smaller, made you react, even when they didn't mean to. And maybe you've had the experience of carrying a weight you didn't realize you'd picked up, a weight that didn't come from your ambition, but your need to prove something to someone, somewhere, sometime, maybe to yourself. What if that weight was never yours to carry? What if the shift you've been working toward doesn't come from pushing harder, but from putting something down? Today's napkin is simple, but the truth behind it isn't. It's freeing. And once you hear it, you might find yourself recognizing rooms you've been in, voices you've believed, and a version of yourself that's been waiting for you to come home. So wherever you are, settle in and let's explore an idea together that might just change the way you see the people around you and the person you're becoming. Let's dive in. Let me ask you a question. Not out loud and not in a performative way, but in that quiet internal way where real questions land. Do you know who's in your room right now? Not the physical room you're sitting in, not the room with walls, doors, and furniture. I mean the inner room, the one where ideas form, where identity sits, where doubt whispers, where belief breathes. The room where the most important conversations of your life happen. The room where your story is narrated, the room where your future is shaped. Because I've learned something the hard way, and maybe you have too. Your room determines your reality. And if you don't know who you've let into it, you will, without even noticing, start living out a script someone else wrote out for you. And there's a difference between someone who offers you truth, the kind that builds you, and someone who offers you doubt, the kind that buries you. And at a glance, both voices can sound very similar, but they do very different things inside you. Here's the subtle difference, and here's what I mean. There are people who will look at something you've created, something you're building, something you're dreaming, and they'll say, it's not ready yet. You can do better. I don't get this part. Can you explain it to me? This section needs more clarity. It's good, but not yet great. You made it, and you'll make it better. Those people are your truth tellers. They're not attacking you. They're investing in your future. They're sharpening your work, not shrinking your identity. Then there are others who say things that sound like feedback, but they strike a different place inside you. You're not as good as you think. You're not as strong as you think. You're not the leader you believe yourself to be. You're not that guy. Those words don't define or refine your ideas. They aim directly at your self-concept. They don't sharpen you, they shrink you. They plant a small seed of doubt, and that seed grows roots into the parts of you you didn't know were vulnerable. And if you're not careful, those roots become restraints. You start editing yourself before you even begin. You start calibrating your dreams to fit someone else's comfort. You start shrinking your potential to protect ego, maybe someone else's ego. And I know this pattern well because I've lived it. I've been in rooms filled with people who said they were my friends, rooms that were built on the promise of we're all here to build each other up, rooms where the intention was growth and support and mutual challenge. And in some of those rooms, those promises were real. Those people helped me sharpen my ideas. Those people helped me get clearer about paper napkin wisdom in the early days. They helped me refine my thinking as a coach and a leader, as a husband and as a father. They saw potential and wanted to help me bring that forward. But there were other rooms, and you might know this experience too, where the energy wasn't aligned with that intention. Rooms where some people didn't really want to help me grow, didn't want me to get better. They wanted me to keep at a level that was comfortable for them. They'd see things like, you're not as good as you think at that. Where did you get off thinking you are good enough for that? Who do you think you are? You're not that strong. You're not that good a leader. And it wasn't feedback on the work. It wasn't constructive challenge. It wasn't them saying, I might not be the right avatar for this, but here's what I think about what you're doing. It was a quiet attempt to limit the size of my presence. And here's what's worse. I believe them. That was the part that did the damage, not their words, not their insecurity, not their perspective, not their sentence structure, not their need to feel superior or comfortable. The real wound came the moment I accepted their assessment as truth. I let their voice become my inner narrator. So what did I do? I turned their doubt into fuel. I said, I'll prove them wrong. I'll work harder. I'll show them who I really am. And I thought I was being strong. I thought I was being resilient. I thought I was using adversity as motivation. And here's the uncomfortable truth that I discovered. Maybe you've discovered this too. When you set out to prove yourself, you've already agreed with the possibility that they're right. You've already agreed with the doubt. It's no longer certainty. So I pushed, I climbed, I hustled, I forced momentum. Not from alignment, not from expansion, but from defensiveness. Not from truth, but from insecurity. I built strategies on top of someone else's foundation. I built strategies on top of someone else's story about me. And I didn't even realize it. I wasn't becoming myself. I was becoming the opposite of what they said I was, which sounds like growth, but it's actually another form of control. Because whether you're conforming to someone's doubt or rebelling against it, their story is still the center of your life. And that's the turning point, the moment where everything changes. And right here, right at the transition between proving and being, is where I want to place a story. And that story belongs exactly in this part of our script today. It's a story about a young man who approached a monk on a dusty road between villages. And the young man looked exhausted, not physically, but spiritually. He sat down by the road and asked the monk, Master, why is my life so heavy? The monk said, show me what you're carrying. And the young man looked confused. I'm not carrying anything. The monk pointed at his chest. Yes, you are. You're carrying the belief that you're not enough, according to someone. And the young man's eyes dropped. He whispered, I have to prove that I am. The monk shook his head. No, that belief is the stone, and the proving is the strap you've tied around your shoulders to keep it with you. But the young man said, I don't know how to put it down. So the monk picked up a small stone from the ground and placed it in the young man's hand. And he said, "Hold this." It was easy at first, light, nothing special. The monk said, "Nothing," just waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The young man's arm started to ache. The monk asked, "Is it heavy?" "A little," the young man said. "Keep holding." 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The young man's arm started to tremble. The weight hadn't changed, but the experience of carrying it had. Finally, he said, "I can't hold it anymore." The monk nodded. "Good. Now put it down." The young man set the stone on the ground and felt a wave of relief come over him. And the monk said, "Your belief that you must prove yourself is exactly like this stone." The weight was never the stone. The weight was in the carrying. And then he said the line that matters most. The stone never owned you. You were always free to let it go. Let's bring this to a moment of truth. So that story gutted me when I first heard it because I realized that I had been carrying the stone. I had been carrying other people's doubt. I had been carrying insecurity that wasn't mine. I had been carrying a story that said, "You're not as good as you think. You're not really a good leader. You're not enough." And I believed it. I picked up the stone and held it for years. And here's what I learned from that parable. The weight wasn't in the judgment. It wasn't in the criticism. It wasn't in the room that I was in. It was in the believing that I had to carry it. Prove it wrong. And that's what exhausted me. Not the voices, but the agreement I'd made with them by carrying it forward, even in the negative. The moment that I realized that the story wasn't mine and the stone wasn't mine to carry, everything changed. I stopped proving. I stopped performing. I stopped responding to a script that I never wrote. And something even more powerful happened. I started just being myself, for me, just the way I am. Not to convince doubters, not to silence critics, not to win the approval of anyone in the room. Just me, just the way I am. Aligned, grounded, clear. And from that place, something unlocked. When you finally put down the stone, you start to hear the difference between two kinds of people. First, the truth tellers. They speak to your work, not your worth. They sharpen your ideas. They challenge your thinking. They believe in your potential. Their truth builds you. In fact, they treat you like you can be, not as you are. The doubt dealers, well, they speak to your identity, not your output. They question your essence. They shrink your confidence. They feel threatened by your growth, so they like to keep you where you are. Their doubt about you, about them, about everything buries you. And the most dangerous thing is a single doubt lead dealer can drown out a room full of truth tellers if you give them the authority. So you have to choose carefully. Not everyone gets access to your inner room. Not everyone gets a voice in your identity. Not everyone gets a seat at your table. Your room must be curated, not crowded. And that brings us back to the napkin for this episode. A simple stick figure, standing tall, relaxed, and free. Next to them, a backpack on the ground. That backpack is the weight of proving, the weight of doubt, the weight of someone else's story, the weight of the stone. And the figure, standing upright, isn't carrying it anymore because proving is heavy. Being is light. And the whole message of this episode, the heartbeat behind everything I'm saying, lives in that simple image. You can set it down. You don't have to carry the backpack anymore. You can walk without it. You can live without it. You can lead without it. Because Who you are is not defined by anything you had to prove. You are defined by everything you're now willing to be. When you remove the wrong people from your room and reclaim the authority to narrate your own identity, something opens. You hear yourself again, you trust yourself again, and you see yourself again. And that's the beginning of becoming. Not proving, becoming. Not performing, being. I am here, I am now, I am. Not responding to someone else's story, writing your own. Because in the end, this is your journey. There is nothing to prove. There is everything to be. And your room, your true room, is where that begins. Make it a great day.